listen, right now there's someone in your life who just realized something. They realize their access to you has changed. Maybe you stopped responding the way you used to. Maybe you stopped showing up. Maybe you stopped being available, apologetic, or easy, and they felt it. The moment they felt it, a specific sequence began, not chaos, not random emotions. A sequence, predictable, identifiable, and completely designed, consciously or not, to get that access back. You're probably already in the middle of it. Maybe they've gone cold. Maybe they've started telling a different story about you to people you both know. Maybe they disappeared for a while and you're wondering if something permanent just shifted. Maybe they came back warmer than you expected, and now you don't know what to do with that. Every single one of those things is a phase, and every phase has a purpose. And if you don't know what that purpose is before it arrives, you will hand the access right back to them without ever meaning to. Most people think losing a toxic person is the hard part. Wrong! The hard part is what comes after. The hard part is watching the sequence unfold and not knowing what you're watching. By the end of this video, you will know every phase of what happens when toxic people lose their access to you, in the exact order they happen. You'll see each one coming, and I'll give you the exact response for the moments they try to pull you back in. I'm going to walk you through 6 things that happen, in sequence, when toxic people lose their access to you, starting with the first move they make in the first hours and days, all the way to the most dangerous phase of the entire arc. Stay until phase 6. Because phase 6 is the one that undoes everything you built if you're not ready for it. When I finally reduced the access someone toxic had to my life, I thought the hard part was done. I thought the silence on my end would just be silence on their end too. It wasn't. What followed was a sequence I had no frame for. Confusion, then coldness, then stories reaching me through other people, then a disappearance, then a return so warm it made me question every instinct I just trusted. I almost went back. Not because I forgot what happened, because I didn't know what phase I was in. So today, I'm giving you the map I didn't have. Because knowing what's coming is the difference between watching the sequence and being trapped inside it. Phase 1. The calibration probe. This is always the first move. It happens fast, within hours or days of them sensing the shift in your access. And it doesn't look like an attack. It doesn't look like pressure. It looks like nothing. A casual message. A small reach out. A just checking in that has no real content. A question so minor it would feel paranoid to assign meaning to it. And here's what's really happening. They're not reaching out to connect. They're reaching out to measure. They need to know if the wall is real before they decide which tool to pick up next. Picture this. You've been quieter, less available, slower to respond, and then your phone buzzes. It's them. Something brief. Hey, haven't heard from you. Or a meme they know you'd normally respond to. Or a question about something completely unrelated to any tension between you, and it feels so low stakes that responding feels harmless. Just a quick reply, just to keep things normal. And if you do reply quickly, warmly, the way you always have, they have their answer. The wall isn't real, or the wall has a door, and they just found it. Here's what's really happening in their head. Every toxic person has an internal model of you, a map of how you behave, how you respond, how long it takes you to soften. The calibration probe is an update to that map. They're checking, has the model changed? Is the new behavior a temporary mood or a permanent shift? Your response speed, your warmth level, your word choice, all of it feeds the update. And the update tells them exactly how hard they need to work to get back in. So what do? You respond on your own schedule. Not immediately, not coldly, but not on their timeline either. And when you do respond, keep it brief. Say exactly this, hey, or nothing at all if the message doesn't require an answer. Because the calibration probe only gets data if you give it data. Give it nothing and the map stays blank. And a toxic person without a map moves forward blind, which is exactly where you want them. And here's where it gets interesting. Because phase 2 doesn't involve you at all. It happens entirely behind your back. Phase 2, the story revision. This phase begins the moment the probe reveals that the access is genuinely reduced, and it begins quietly, with words spoken to other people. Not to you. Never to you. Because the story revision is not about resolving things with you. It's about protecting their image while they figure out what comes next. Picture this. You start getting signals from the periphery of your social world. A mutual friend mentions something in passing. A family member brings up your name with a tone that's slightly off. Someone who knows you both gets a little guarded. And slowly you realize that a version of events has been circulating, a version in which you are difficult, unreasonable, someone who changed for the worse, someone who just stopped showing up. And in their version, they are confused, hurt, just trying to understand what happened. They never mention what you were protecting yourself from. They never mention the behavior that made the protection necessary, because that part got edited out, and edited out cleanly. Here's what's really happening in their head. A toxic person's self-image cannot accommodate the version of events where they lost access to someone because of their own behavior. That version is too threatening. So they construct a different version, one where they are the confused, wronged party, one where you are the one who acted without reason. And they tell that version early, before you tell yours. Because the first story in the room is the story that shapes how everything else gets heard. This is not grief. This is reputation management, and it is carried out with remarkable speed and precision. Here's the crazy part. The story revision is actually evidence of how much your departure threatened them. A person who is indifferent to losing you doesn't spend energy rewriting your history together. A person who is terrified of what your departure says about them, they rewrite it immediately. The urgency of the revision is the measure of their panic. So what do you say? Nothing. Not to them. Not to the mutual friends. Not to anyone delivering the revised version. You don't counter-narrate. You don't defend yourself. You let time do the work. But if someone directly asks you for your account, say exactly this: I'm not interested in building a case. I know what my experience was. Calm, complete, and then drop it. Because a confident truth requires no campaign. Only a manufactured story needs constant maintenance. Boom. But that's nothing compared to phase 3. Because phase 3 is when they stop relying on narrative and start trying every physical access point they still have. Phase 3, the door check. When the probe didn't work and the story revision didn't produce the result they wanted, phase 3 begins. This is the inventory phase. They start systematically checking which doors are still open, not your front door, your side doors, your back doors. Every indirect access point that still exists in your shared world. Picture this: they reach out through a mutual friend, just casually mentioning you in a conversation, planting a message, asking the friend to pass something along. Or they show up in a space you both share, an event, a workplace, a social group, not to confront you, just to be present, just to be visible. Or they send a signal through a platform, a like on something you posted, a reaction, a view that shows up in your analytics. Each one small, each one deniable, each one calibrated to feel accidental. But together, they form a map of exactly which entry points are still functional, and any door that opens, even slightly, gets noted. Here's what's really happening in their head. A toxic person who has lost direct access doesn't give up. They diversify. They're not desperate, they're methodical, because they've done this before. Not necessarily with you, but the pattern of probing for access when the primary channel closes is something they know how to run. It's automatic, like water finding a crack in a wall. It doesn't force, it just keeps testing until it finds the path of least resistance. So what do? You close the side doors with the same energy you close the front one. Quietly, without announcement, without a scene. And if the mutual friend delivers a message, don't respond to the content. Respond to the mechanism. Say exactly this: I prefer they reach out to me directly if they have something to say. To the messenger. Not unkindly, but clearly. Because using third parties as access points only works if the third parties are willing to carry the signal. Remove their willingness and the door check runs out of doors. And here's where it gets interesting. Because when the doors stop working, phase 4 takes the show somewhere much more visible. Phase 4, the public performance. This is the phase that confuses people the most, because it looks like emotion. It looks like pain. It looks like someone processing a genuine loss, and some of it might even be real. But here's what's really happening. The performance is not for you. It never was. It's for the audience. Picture this. They post something, not about you directly, but unmistakably adjacent to you. Something about betrayal, or loyalty, or how people show their true colors, or a quote about moving on from people who don't deserve you. And the people who know you both immediately understand who it's about, or they're in a social setting and they let the hurt show just enough. Visibly subdued, quietly suffering in a way that gets noticed, in a way that generates the question, are you okay? Which generates the story, which generates the sympathy, which builds a public record of them as the wronged party, before anyone thinks to hear the other side. Here's the crazy part. The public performance serves two functions simultaneously. First, it positions them as the victim in the court of shared opinion. Second, it's a message to you. It's designed to reach you, to make you feel responsible for the pain you're seeing displayed, to make you want to fix it by coming back. Because empathetic people cannot watch someone perform pain, even manufactured pain, without feeling the pull to address it. And a toxic person knows exactly how strong that pull is in you. Here's what's really happening in their head. They've lost control of their image in your eyes. You know what happened. You were there. You cannot be edited. So they don't try to edit you. They edit the audience instead. The performance is not emotion management. It is image management, and the audience is the raw material. So what do? Nothing. Publicly, nothing. You don't respond to the posts, you don't engage with the performance, you don't issue a counterstatement. And if someone brings it to you, say exactly this: I saw it, I'm not engaging with that. 4 words, plus the acknowledgement. Because acknowledging it without engaging with it demonstrates something the performance was designed to take from you: your composure. And your composure held publicly is its own statement, the most powerful one you can make. But wait until you hear phase 5. Because this one requires nothing from you at all. And it's the one that will sting regardless. Phase 5. The replacement. This is the phase nobody warns you about. Because everyone talks about toxic people obsessing over the people who leave them, chasing, pleading, unable to let go. And sometimes that happens. But just as often, more often than people expect, something different happens. They find someone new, quickly, almost immediately. A new person to confide in, a new person to drain, a new person to test, to manipulate, to make feel special before the cycle reasserts itself. And you find out. And something stings, even when you know you made the right call, even when you're clear about why you stepped back. The speed of the replacement stings anyway. Picture this: a few weeks after the probe, the story revision, the door check, and the performance, you notice them with someone else, online or in person, and they look fine, normal, even good, laughing, engaged, and you feel something complicated. Not jealousy exactly. Something older than jealousy. A doubt. Was it really that bad? If they moved on that fast, did it even matter to them? Was any of it real? Here's what's really happening in their head. They are not healed. They are redirected. There is a massive difference. An emotionally dysregulated person who loses one source of supply does not learn to regulate internally. They find a new external source. The speed of the replacement is not evidence that what you shared was meaningless. It is evidence that what they needed from you was never specific to you. They needed access. They needed supply. And access and supply can be found in the next available person. You were replaceable in that specific role. But here's the truth. The role itself was never something you wanted. Here's the crazy part. The replacement is actually the clearest evidence of everything you needed to know. A person who loved you, truly, specifically, irreplaceably, does not reattach that fast. Genuine loss takes time to settle. The speed of the reattachment is the confession. Not that you didn't matter, but that what mattered to them was never you. It was what you provided. And provision can be sourced anywhere. So what do? You let it sting for exactly as long as it stings. Don't rush it. Don't perform indifference. But when it passes, and it will pass, say this to yourself: that tells me everything. My peace was always worth more than that role. Because it was. And now you know with absolute certainty that it was. And now, phase 6. This is the one you need to be most prepared for, because it doesn't come wearing a warning label. It comes wearing the face of the person you used to love. Phase 6, the return. This is the most dangerous phase of the entire arc. And it is the most dangerous because it doesn't feel like danger. It feels like resolution. After the probe, the story revision, the door check, the performance, the replacement, time passes. Sometimes weeks, sometimes months, and then they come back. Not with an explanation, not with an apology that addresses what happened, with warmth, with the familiar version of themselves, the one you liked, the one that made you think this person was worth the investment, and something in you that has been carrying the weight of the ending, the guilt, the doubt, the wondering, feels it lift slightly. And the question rises, maybe things are different now. Maybe this is the version that was always trying to come through. Maybe I should give this a chance. Picture this. They reach out. Nothing heavy. Nothing that requires you to address the history. Just easy. Light. the way things used to feel at the beginning. And you respond, and it continues for a while, and it starts to feel like you never left. And then, slowly, so slowly you almost don't notice it, the patterns start to reassert. The old dynamic settles back into place, like furniture returning to the grooves worn into the floor. Not because they're doing anything dramatically different, because the dynamic was never about dramatic moments. It was about accumulated access, and they have it again. And the cycle begins. Here's what's really happening in their head. The return is not change, it is strategy. A toxic person who comes back after a period of absence has learned one thing from the gap. Which version of themselves gets the door open? And they walk back in as that version, deliberately. Because the warmth works where the pressure didn't. The reset phase from the last cycle taught them that. This is just a larger version of the same move. And it is the most refined version of the access recovery strategy in their entire playbook. So what do you say? You don't slam the door. You don't ignore the warmth. But you do not let warmth be the only credential that gets someone back into your life. You require behavior over time. Not one good week, not one good conversation. Months of consistent, changed behavior. And if they ask why you're being cautious, say exactly this. I'm glad you're here, and I need to see this stay consistent before I trust it fully. Warm, honest, unashamed, because trust that was broken is not rebuilt with a good entrance. It is rebuilt one ordinary day at a time, and anyone who genuinely changed will understand that. And anyone who didn't will show you immediately. Here's what nobody tells you about what happens when toxic people lose their access to you. Every single phase, the calibration probe, the story revision, the door check, the public performance, the replacement, the return, is not evidence that losing them was the wrong call. It is evidence that losing them was exactly right. Think about what all 6 phases have in common. Not one of them is about genuinely addressing what happened. Not one of them is about accountability. Not one of them is about becoming someone who deserves the access they lost. Every phase is about recovering the access itself, by any available method. And a person who responds to losing you with 6 phases of access recovery has told you everything about why you were valuable to them. You were a resource, and resources get replaced, reframed, and reaccessed, but they don't get genuinely mourned. Not like this. Not by someone who saw you as a person first. Here's the plot twist. The fact that you're watching this sequence from the outside, that you're no longer inside it, being moved by each phase like a piece in someone else's game, that is the change. That is what protection looks like when it's working. You didn't just remove access. You removed yourself from a dynamic that was quietly shrinking you, one phase at a time. And now you're watching the phases from a distance. That distance is not coldness. That distance is freedom. And it is yours to keep. You didn't lose a person. You lost a role that was costing you everything. And the person who filled that role never treated you like the loss of you, was something that required more than 6 phases of access recovery. When someone works that hard to get back what they lost, they're not proving they love you. They're proving they can't function without using you. Pick one of these 6 phases, just one, the one you're currently watching unfold in your own life. Use the scripted response the next time that phase puts something in front of you. Once, and watch how much cleaner it feels to meet it with a prepared answer instead of a reactive one. Then come back and tell me in the comments, which of these 6 phases are you in right now, and which one hit you the hardest to see named out loud? I read every comment. Your answer is someone else's roadmap. If this video helped you understand what you're watching, hit that subscribe button. One click. That's all. And at the end of next week's video, I'll be giving a shout out to one subscriber. Could be you. Now go protect your peace. You already did the hard part. Don't give back the ground you paid for. You've got this.